are live on the streams right now. The broadcast will be starting in just a couple minutes. We play ads on the radio side that we're not really going to subject you guys to that often. So far, I don't really see anybody finding us yet, but I'm sure it'll happen. Yesterday, I did this for like 2 hours and had like an extra 30 people on. I was kind of surprised for not really doing it. I was like, dang, people are actually doing it. All right. What was I looking for? Oh, yeah. The disclaimer. I should probably bring the volume up for that part, just in case. But this gives me a chance to make sure everything's working because it was being a little weird earlier. I tried to install some new routing stuff so I can eventually start controlling what music goes where. And it automatically changed a bunch of my settings, and I wasn't expecting it to. And I went through and thought I fixed all of them. Then I started trying to do the stream, and it was like, hey, just kidding. Y'all can't hear me right now. Because everything was different. Thought I fixed all of them. Okay, so it's working now. All right. Now they're going to be getting an echo for a second and be like, what the hell? But at least it's working now. I guess I could give them some mood music for a second. Give them some jazz while we're just sitting here. That's not jazz. That's almost merengue. Yeah, anyway. Let it play in the background for a second so at least it doesn't seem so weird. Why is the... Okay, well, I don't have a counter right now for the commercials, so I'm going to have to sit here and pay attention because for some reason the time remaining clock on the ad wheel is not loading for me. That's new. It's always something. Guesstimating roughly a minute and 40 seconds. All right, I lied. That's annoying. It's going away.
Enough of that, anyways. Elevator music.
Yeah, well, I was trying to do something special for the people on the stream, but I don't think anybody's found us yet anyway. I got busy doing other things and forgot to promote, so.
No, I didn't either. I walked in like, we have a full house tonight, so there might even be some background noise here or there.
Yeah, it's all good.
My sister and my niece and, my husband and I and my parents and my cousin came in town. So we're all just kind of like, we just all had dinner together at my parents' house, and I'm upstairs in a room, but things still echo and doors could still be opened and someone forget. So it is what it is.
It's all good. We'll get through it. We usually do.
Wouldn't want to ruin our super professional reputation or anything.
Hey, I'm trying to work on that.
I know. We actually do pretty good.
Oh, I know. Just being facetious. All right.
No one else cares if we have a dog that barks or a kid that cries. It's fine.
Yeah, they kind of gave up on all that stuff during COVID anyway. All right, here we go.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy.
Achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
And welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to Thursday night on KLRNRadio.com. You are listening to us live from KLRN Radio Home Studios, as well as through now Facebook Live, X Streams, and should be YouTube and Rumble. They're all showing active. So I think we're pretty much everywhere right now. Funny thing is, there's like 2 more places I can put us, and I haven't figured out where those are going to be yet. I was honestly thinking TikTok, but they have all kinds of rules before you can do live streams over there. So I think I'm just going to start chopping up the videos and putting them over there anyway. They like shorter stuff over there. So anyway, so how are you, Jen? How are you?
Doing okay. Just watching this historic day.
Watching the shit show.
The absolute shit show. Oh lordy.
I mean, so let's just get the quiet part out loud done first. They could have at least been subtle. I could have kind of understood it if maybe 1, 2, 3, or even 4 of them came back as guilty verdicts, but all 34 in 8 hours. In 8 hours, all 34. Now, granted, there were some weird instructions given, like, and I've seen some community notes and everything else, but I actually read through. Somebody actually released some of the instructions, so I did read through some of them, and it was really weird because it was like, if 4 of you agree that this one's a crime, and 4 of you agree that this one's a crime, and 4 of you agree that this one's a crime, I'll consider that a unanimous verdict. Now, that was in the instructions. Now, whether that has any bearing on what they've done, or whether it was, once they decided to split them up 4, 4, and 4, or 6 and 6, and whatever, they just all said, this one's mine, this one's mine, this one's mine. And I honestly, I don't really blame the jurors as much, because I think, one, they were probably afraid that they were going to be publicly lambasted if there was any type of an acquittal or a hung jury, because it's not like everybody's not going to know who they are within the next few days anyway. But at the same time, they're just people. The people that I blame for this are...
Well, they're also just people that didn't get to see a critical witness for the defense that the judge would not allow, that did not get to see various other pieces of evidence or the full story about. They were not allowed to talk about Michael Cohen's history, and that, that he's a felon up there. That wasn't allowed to be introduced. There's all sorts of information which happens with every trial, right? Like they do approve and not approve for various things to be introduced into trial, but this one heavily favored the prosecution. I mean, everybody has said it, even people on the left are like, this is a prosecution biased, judge here, and the way that this is going so far. So they didn't even have, I don't blame them in part because, yes, they could be intimidated. They could be worried, about the aftermath after the trial, knowing how much the Dems and just people in general, particularly in New York City, were out for blood for Trump. And for the sake of their families and their privacy and all of those things, you could see how but that stings, because that's literally like jury tampering, but without having to actually go and do it yourself. But they, but in general, though, that they were just people that.
We lost Jen. Still shows she's here. Oh, wait, she's back now, I think.
Weird. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. So, but that just continuously, we're not given everything involved, and you have this, like I said, you have this judge that is talking with disdain. I mean, there's obviously a different tone in his voice when he discusses the prosecution versus the defense, has been said by hundreds of people that have been in the courtroom over the time period. And this whole jury instruction thing, I mean, it's just absolutely insane that they were not given written instructions. I know that there have been a lot of people that have come out and talked about how they've never been on a jury trial of this nature, that you didn't give them written instructions when there were so many counts with so many instructions to be remembered and have to deliver. So all those things combined, they didn't even get a fair chance at judging this trial, at being jurists on this trial. So they shouldn't be blamed at all, in my opinion.
Okay, so I just figured out, thanks to the chat, why I didn't have an ad counter. Apparently, a setting got changed, and it was just looping the ads over and over and over again. So the good news is, those of you listening through the streaming side, you didn't get any of that because, reasons. But yeah, so that explains why there was nothing counting. I was like, what is going on? And I look in the chat, and Jeff's like, can you turn off the loop on the ads? I'm like, I didn't know it was looping. And then I looked, and it was.
Oh, great.
See, this is what happens when I start trying to integrate new equipment. Somehow a setting got changed, and I'm like, I don't even know how that would have happened. But I think I can go in. Oh, yeah, I think I figured it out. I swear I think it's because I hit restore earlier, because I just kind of went through and restored everything, and I think it restored to like looping the stuff automatically. I thought that just meant it was going to play it till it got to the end, not just do it over and over and over again. Anyway, so yeah, sorry guys. Yeah.
Well, anyways, all we said is don't blame the jury. They only were presented what they were presented with. And they also were probably intimidated by the outrageous anti-Trump bias in their area, in the media, and elsewhere. And so this isn't really on them. It sucks. You hope one would stand up and hold out, but again, they weren't given all the information, and they were, heavily led in a certain direction by the prosecution and the judge.
Well, I mean, and that much is definitely true. I think one of the weirdest things for me was there's a guy who was actually, had firsthand knowledge of everything that they were talking about, who is currently in the custody of the state. And they're like, no, we're not calling that guy. And then everybody's like, well, why didn't the defense call him? And every judge that I know is like, the defense doesn't have a burden to prove anything. It's the prosecution. That's why everybody, including Jonathan Turley, who I don't agree with very often, had basically said that he thought it was going to be a hung jury. I didn't think we were going to get there. I figured they were going to sneak in like maybe one or two to make it seem more legit, but all 34? I mean, really?
Yeah.
All 34 in 8 hours? You guys just said, fuck it. Hit him with all of them.
I mean, to be fair, basically what has been the summary from the prosecution, and even hinted at by the judge, is that if there's such similar charges, that basically if you find him guilty on one, you have to find him guilty on all of them. They didn't say that so explicitly, but it's absolutely what they implied and kept insinuating. So, with this verbal jury instruction versus written jury instructions for all 34 counts, being part of the deal in their deliberation, you could see why they would just kind of roll with that instead of having to come back 30 different times to the judge to get clarification on something he should have fucking given them written down on a piece of paper to begin with, just like most jury trials do.
Well, you would think. All right, getting text messages that we were still coming in a little weird for the stream side, or the actual audio stream side, folks. Are we sounding better now? Because now I'm concerned. Anyway, now waiting for response from the chat, because it'll be probably 30 seconds or so. Anyway, all right.
So, but I mean, overall, I was not surprised. I also could not be. I know that there's been all of these statements made, and I understand the implications. And so it is great for some of our GOP leaders to come out and make very definitive and bold statements, lambasting the system, the kind of the bias that seemed to be evident in this court, in this particular court, and just kind of the sham of it all to begin with to even get this far. But for me, I'm just not hair on fire. There's so many dark days for our country. This is the end. This is blah, blah, blah. And I'm just not there yet because, y'all, he's got appeals. I know the appeals are going to be lit. They are going to be so lit. And there's going to be things that are going to be allowed that were not allowed in the trial. There are going to be other things that come out. I mean, this is far, far, far from over. Yes, he gets sentenced on July 11th, which is several days before the RNC convention. So remember, he's technically not, he hasn't officially been nominated yet. So there's always the chance that things could change with that. If for some reason this judge did decide to go completely radical and sentence him to jail, even though he's a first-time offender, you might see some skirmishing start to happen there, but doubtful. And he already has a debate before then too, before he's sentenced. He and Biden have a debate a couple weeks before that. So he's
sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but all I'm going to say about that is I'm now waiting for the White House to release a statement that the president refuses to debate a
felon. It would not surprise me at all. You're absolutely correct. But it's just, this whole dark day stuff, I'm like, sure, but they're also, it's extremely concerning how they've gone about this, and they're going to continue in other, in other trials and charges across the country for some things, and some of it he's guilty of, but I just can't be too crazy about it yet because there's so much left to deal with in this particular case. And this was one of the flimsiest of it all. And I mean, even some people that hate him, some legal scholars that don't like him have said the likelihood of this staying upheld is just almost slim to none. So you're going to see a completely different thing in the coming, as he starts to appeal. It's just whether or not they can start that process before, he needs to be officially nominated and actually run for president.
Yeah, I mean, well, therein lies the rub because now I've heard folks like Mark Levin talking about some way to expedite directly to SCOTUS. I'm not an attorney. I'm not going to pretend I am one. I'm not sure how they would do that. I do know he has 30 days to file an appeal. And then knowing the New York Appellate Court, if it does go there first, they're going to slow roll it as long as possible to try to make sure they can keep him off the ballot. Because now a lot of states will have the excuse they need to say, well, we shouldn't have a convicted felon on our ballot. It's a little late now, guys. They've already printed them, by the way. So it's one of those things. That's why it's kind of weird to me that they do the conventions and stuff as late as they do them, because by now most of the states have already printed their ballots.
Yeah, but I mean, they can do away with that. I mean, they waste money like it's nobody's business. They can print more. They can do whatever they need to do. I mean, they will. If someone died tomorrow, they'd have to. Though they could just claim it's still that ticket. That's the thing. See, he hasn't chosen a running mate, so that's not on there yet. But they could just claim it's still that ticket, even though that person's not directly still there. So it could still be like the Trump ticket, but whoever the replacement is, which whatever. It's so stupid. I think I just don't see it going that way unless for some reason they do sentence him to prison, which I think would just cause all kinds of chaos, and it would be so unprecedented for this type of situation as a quote unquote first time offender. There's other arguments to be had about whether or not we as a people should even attempt to elect a convicted felon, regardless of whether you think it's a sham or not. That is what he will be now, unless he gets this overturned. So there's arguments to be made about that, but they're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. So we have.
Okay, that was weird.
Yeah.
Okay, you're back again. That's weird. This is like stable for like everybody I've done it with except for you.
Well, and I'm not in any I know sometimes I've been in a less internet situation. This is definitely not one of them. So that's weird. Well, yeah. I'll have to with it. Maybe it has something to do with the way it's loaded for me. And I'll have to like when I click over to another tab, maybe it felt like that just happened.
Yeah, actually, that actually will do that.
So you can't look at anything else on your computer?
Well, I know for me, I
Well,
still.
because you're looking at chat. I'm looking at chat and it's not doing it.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that.
I don't know either. We'll just have to play with it and see what makes it do it and what doesn't. Because I'm like, I gotta be able to have stuff pulled up. I can't just be because we're always looking at stuff.
Well, yeah, no. Well, one thing that I've discovered, because I realized this the other day, because normally, like, if I'm in a hurry, I'll just pull up like YouTube Music or something and play bumpers from my browser. That doesn't work on this setup now for the streams, so I actually have to either tie my phone into the board or have an app open to play music. Which I've made a disturbing discovery. Windows new stuff doesn't actually have the YouTube Music app available on there, which I thought was kind of weird. But Google's doing some weird things, so I think that may have something to do with it. But anyway,
so we'll get the hang of it. We'll just have to figure out what works and what doesn't.
It's all new technological stuff. We know how to deal with it.
It's new.
It's new and shiny.
But yeah, I just don't think that there is. I just don't think that there's like a real need to panic yet. I think that we're still gonna. I mean, granted, the people in the streets are gonna be crazy. I think this summer's gonna be crazy. I think if he's not sentenced to jail, they're gonna go nuts. If he is sentenced to jail, the right's gonna go nuts. I think it's just gonna be one of those summers, and leading up to this election, it's gonna be another completely volatile cycle, which we expected regardless. So, I would caution everybody to like tamp down on the doom and gloom just a little bit, because there are several other courts that are going to hear this, and it doesn't seem likely, even based on other things they've already ruled on in the past, that they will uphold this to the degree that it has been that he has been convicted to this point. So we just got to wait and see. There's nothing else to be done at the moment, and we all know that this sucks. We all know that this was ridiculous in the first place, and we all know that it's a political witch hunt and execution. So, but, I mean, hopefully we can get through this, and the GOP could get back in power and actually,
do our jobs.
Yeah. Though I don't want, but if we do get back in power, I also don't want it to be entirely about revenge, because, that's not going to do any good either. So if it's like, okay, well, the entire Trump presidency is going to be about getting back at people and prosecuting, former Democrats, I'm saying prosecute them if you should prosecute them. Like if they should be, and there's precedent for it, and there are crimes committed, prosecute them. But let's not just go on this revenge tour, which, he kind of was already on before this, to where it takes away from all the shit that we need to get done while we have power, which is something, the Dems are typically pretty good at doing, is kind of ignoring the noise and getting down to what they want to have happen in a timely manner in case they don't get another shot at the Oval in the 4 years preceding it or after it. And we kind of tend to like, play footsie for a couple years and then try to start to get some stuff done. And by the time that's going on, you don't even have time to push everything through or make the policy changes you need to make, because you're about to get out of office and whoop, here's another flip-flop, and we're going to go back to the Dems again, most likely. And this time he doesn't have another term to run. So you can't even possibly have 8 years. You can't even possibly. You have to only bank on the 4. And the likelihood of the Republican that's going to come behind him getting in that Oval after 4 years of Trump, I wouldn't hedge my bets on it. I just wouldn't. How good they are.
The safest bet for that is going to be next to impossible, because Trump won't do it. He really needs to change his residency status and tap DeSantis, because that's the only way that we might not only get maybe 8 years out of it, but not plan on it, but possibly even 12. Because I mean, again, I say the same thing that I've been saying this entire time. I did not want the cauliflower in chief versus Lord Spraytan round 2. That was not on my 2024 bingo card. But now that this is the 2024 bingo card, and these are the elections that are shaping up, I don't see any other choice. I still see lots of people going, well, I wasn't going to vote for him before, and I'm not going to vote for him now. And I'm just like, so if your dislike of Trump lets you turn a blind eye to everything that you're seeing the Democrats do through lawfare and everything else that they're trying to do, I don't really know how to reach you anymore. So I'm gonna.
I don't think it's that. I don't think it's turning a blind eye, because I'm one of those that's kind of on the fence. I am seriously. I think he has so fucking damaged this country and our party on his own. I think he's still doing it right the fuck now. I think he has so damaged everything that it is very hard for me to get over that, to push back all the bullshit, to go ahead and punch that button. And it's not about turning a blind eye or anything like that. It's about that, what the fuck are you going to do to bring me back on board? Because I should be a shoo-in for you. And you have turned your back on conservatism, on me, on this country, in your fucking own name, because that's all you give a damn about. You spent all of our money. You ran up our deficit even further. You completely fucked us over during COVID. You've lied about every single aspect of it along the way. And you've absolutely shat on the very best in the GOP that they have had to offer in the last fucking 40 years. And you've tried to completely malign and ruin them. Not only have you tried to ruin their political careers, you have tried to ruin their marriages and their families. And I should fucking get on my knees and thank God for you right now? No, that's not where I am. And I'm not gonna be. But I also don't think we can handle another 4 years of Democrats. So I'm going to do what needs to be done. But there's still been you can be outraged about the system. You can be outraged about all this, but there's still been nothing to be done that could actually clearly reach people that need to be reached to get this across the fucking finish line. It's just me all the time, and poor me, and oh, whoa, and the bad libs, and own the libs, and the da-da-da. And there's still been no reparations made. There's been no remorse. There has been no reconciliation. And that's the hard part for a lot of people. And they're just so turned off. And so they're turned off by Biden too, but they don't see that they're going to make much of a difference because he doesn't give a shit about them anyways. And a lot of us live in states where it's not going to make that much of a difference. So there's that too. So I think there's just, it's been easy to start to like get on board and cheerlead because it's such a farce what they're doing with these trials. But it hasn't changed any way in which his message has been getting out there, or the way he's reaching people, or even attempting to reconcile what happened in 2020. A lot of it that was at his hands.
No, I agree.
So that's the disconnect.
Yeah, you and I may be going back to Skype. For some reason, this setup is
I
not
didn't
like.
do anything that time. That's weird.
Yeah, for some reason, this setup doesn't like you. So you and I may be going back to Skype for now or something.
Well, let's see. We'll try it again. We'll try it again, and I'll maybe put it in its own window next time. I don't want to do it now because it may cut us off entirely.
Actually, you can just do whatever you're going to do. You should just be able to click on the link again either way and come right back in. I may have to reopen it for you.
Let me see.
So if you want to try that real quick, it's at least that way we'll know.
Well,
All right, let me see if I can get you. Oh. Okay, that's weird. It shows you in here twice now, so let me mute your other one. You're coming through a lot clearer now than you were, so I don't know what you did differently, because I had to have you like completely maxed out a second ago. And
okay, is this better?
Drop your yeah, much better actually.
Okay. Well, maybe that's the key. I'll just give it in it's a whole separate window.
Whatever works, mate.
Whatever we got to do. Because
you're a lot more stable now than you were, so we'll see how long it holds. But so far, it's a lot better.
Okay. Yeah. There we go.
Learning how new things
work. Okay, so. Well, we just have to.
So anyway, what else has been grinding your gears?
Oh, this Alito flag shit is just hilarious. I mean, it's so dumb. Could they not be more dumb about stuff?
I still think it's funny that, San Francisco was like quietly flying the damn flag until like 2 days
And then
ago.
they, yeah,
It's
and they
like,
pulled
oh,
it
we,
down, and all these people are like, it's long overdue, and I'm like, you didn't even know what the damn flag was until this whole situation came up. You didn't have a clue. What do you mean long time overdue? Oh, we all knew it was about white nationalism. No, you didn't, because that's never been what it has represented. So ridiculous.
I'm a history. I'm going to be completely honest. I'm a history nerd, and I didn't know a damn thing about the flag until a couple days ago. I remember the Gadsden flag. I remember the Betsy Ross flag. I don't ever remember hearing anything about that flag. So I'm like, okay, so am I having another Mandela effect, or what the hell's going on? But yeah, I never heard about this flag. And then it's like, oh my God, it's a bunch of people from January 6th were flying it. And his wife had the American flag upside down, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, dude, that's a universal sign of distress. I've wanted to do that with my flag more than once. I've stopped myself, mind you, but I have wanted to do it with my flag more than once because, I mean, and anybody technically who's flying the flag upside down anytime near January 6th could have technically been on either side of the argument. Because, that was something we hadn't really seen before. It's not, well, that's not really true either. Because it wasn't anywhere near what the media blew it up to be. And there was things that happened that were just about as bad in 2017 that nobody talks about. So
my favorite was like them acting like it was so outrageous. It's like, as soon as I saw it, I asked my wife to take it down, but for several days she refused. My wife and I own our Virginia home jointly. She therefore has the legal right to use the property as she sees fit, and there were no additional steps that I could have taken to have the flag taken down more promptly. And so you've got all these libs out there being like, why can't he just like make his wife do it? Like rein her in, like tell it, like all that. Oh, another one of those. Scratch them, find them. Like, oh, so you do think men should control their wives? Oh, so you do think that this is like how this should work? I mean, oh, what's wrong, dude? Why couldn't you just fucking tell your wife to calm down and get her under control? That's what it seems like. I was like, are you kidding me? But they just say this stuff out loud and then pretend like they never did. And as they scream all of these, insults at us over completely benign speech and flags and, whatever. And yet here they are, like actually being freaking misogynist, sexist assholes. And they're like, well, no, but like otherwise he should recuse. Like he couldn't get her under control, so he should not be able to rule on things. It's so absolutely absurd. I mean, we're literally talking about a judge recusing himself or being impeached because his wife flew a fucking flag. What?
yeah, I mean, as far as things that are absurd, I'll take that category for 500, Ken, because what the hell? I don't know. I got nothing. But yeah, that's what's been really hard for me for the last couple of weeks. I keep like, oh, I'll have 5 minutes to sit down and try to write an article, and then the entire news cycle is sucked up with Trumpapalooza, and I'm just like, oh.
I know. Yeah, that's kind of been annoying for the last several weeks. Even as other things are going on, they're still split screening it with the courthouse where they can't even have cameras inside. I'm like, come on, can you just give us updates throughout the hour instead of like having that be the only thing that's live all the time? It was pretty frustrating when several different things were going on and we were trying to find like news on it. And whether it was CNN or Fox News or MSNBC, any of them, it didn't matter. They were still mostly focused on the Trump trial. And you're like, guys, there's stuff happening. I can't remember what was happening last week, and they wouldn't even barely cover it.
Yeah, like the other day, there was like the oral arguments going on at SCOTUS, and nobody had it except for online. I'm like, how are we? What? I mean, I didn't even realize it until I went to go start doing show prep, and by then it was like 20 minutes before I was supposed to start anyway, because I had been doing a lot of the prep from my room. So I just grabbed the notes that I had on my phone, came in here, started pulling everything up. I was like, what is this? So I actually just spent the first few minutes of the show listening to it because I was like, I don't know about you guys, but I didn't even know this was on. So we're just gonna camp out and listen to this for a minute. And it was it was the oral arguments for whether or not Trump is immune or not. I will say that's something because I kind of feel like they're about to say, I know they're not going to give him blanket immunity because that's just stupid. They can't do that. But
Right.
I have a feeling there's about to be something that's going to make Alvin come down about this. That's going to make Alvin Bragg all kinds of pissed off by the time it's all said and done.
Oh, I think so too.
I wouldn't be surprised if all of this just went, just kidding.
Yeah.
You guys can't do that. That's
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't think he's going to be happy in the end at all. I don't think there's any reason to believe that all of this is going to be upheld. But yeah, like the other day, like the Iran's leader's helicopter crash.
Mhm.
And seriously, all the channels are still, they're like, oh yeah, we may have news. This may have happened. And it wasn't for a few hours that they finally started actually covering it. I'm like, yo, this is major world news, especially considering, the conflict in the Middle East right now over Gaza. Like this is absolutely big news. Maybe take a breath on the whole, like discussing for 2 hours during the Trump trial lunch, every little bit of the Trump trial, and talk about this damn crash of that possibly killed a world leader. And not that he should be a world leader, and I'm not gonna sit here and cry any tears over it, but it was a major news event all across the world. I had to put it on Sky News to get coverage.
Yeah, it was news everywhere.
Like, thanks, Brits. Like, good grief. Which I do I like Sky News quite a bit, but it's so focused on Europe, so you end up being a little bit like, I wish I could merge them. I like Sky News USA, but it's not the best product that Sky puts out. So it's just kind of weird. But anyways, yeah, I'm like, hey man, I don't know. This is kind of important. Seems a little important. Or like today, what got so overshadowed by the Trump trial, which it should have. I mean, I know, was this the unanimous ruling of SCOTUS on the NRA case.
All right, so apparently I'm not alone. Orty, chat room. I have no memory of the appeal to heaven flag either, Rick, so I'm calling Mandela effect too.
Nice.
Oh, it's weird because sometimes we'll have them the same, but because we usually do that show usually at least once a year. Sometimes if it comes back around the cycle, we'll do another one. But it's weird because sometimes we'll be like, yeah, I don't remember that, and then we'll actually be talking about the same thing and remember it differently. That's been weird. It was like, oh, that's not. I'm confused, but anyway.
No, I saw the Sinbad Genie movie.
Yeah, that one still floors me.
I know, I saw it. I can see the cover of the fucking VHS.
That one still floors me. And the weirdest thing about that one, I don't even know how we got on this topic, but we might as well finish it now that we're on it. The weirdest thing about that one is him making a video years later making fun of the fact that everybody thought that was a movie. And I'm like, dude, I watched that movie.
I know.
I rented that damn movie.
My brother and I are like, no. Before I ever told him this was a thing, I was like, hey, do you remember that Genie movie? And he's like, yeah, Sinbad. Like, I didn't say a word other than, do you remember that one Genie movie in the 90s? And he's like, yeah, the Sinbad one. And I was like, did you know it never existed? And he's like, shut the fuck up. And we went on this whole thing. He calls me. He's like, what? No, Jennifer, we watched it. I can see. I'm like, I know. It never existed according to this timeline. We got pushed somewhere else.
I'm telling you, I think the world actually ended in 2012.
I don't know, but it's hilarious.
And I think we've been shifting realities slowly but surely ever since. Because it's like I said, there's just little things that crop up, and I'm like, that's not how it was before. Like this stupid. I mean, I don't mean stupid like disrespectful or anything, but it's just this stupid flag. I mean, I never remember anything about George Washington commissioning an appeal to heaven flag. No, and I'm a history nerd who rarely forgets things. I will admit, as I've gotten older, I forget more than I used to.
Yeah.
But things like that, normally once I read stuff like that, I remember it. And I was like, what is this thing that they're even talking about? And I went,
yeah, I recognized it, but I didn't have any like major. It was neither here nor there. It's like, oh yeah, no, I've seen it, but not like, you know, not like, oh yeah, no, I totally know that flag and this is what it was and what it represents and blah, 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 blah. Like, not like that. I'm like, oh yeah, no, I know that. But not like I couldn't place like, oh yeah, but where do I see it normally? I couldn't place any of it other than that. So it was like it was recognizable to me, but it wasn't like but it was recognizable in a very benign way. Like it wasn't like, oh yeah, that's that flag that these kinds of people use. You know what I mean? Like it's just like, oh yeah, no, I've seen it.
I mean,
Now
yeah,
that
but
Jeff said that about Mount Vernon, I'm like, yeah, I spend a decent amount of time in that area, so maybe that's part of why I recognize it.
could be.
The world ended when Harambe survived his gunshot wounding.
Long live her.
Oh my gosh, I kind of long for the days where the biggest controversy was a freaking gorilla.
That's like when Twitter like had a field day the other day because they thought that they were about to blow up another whale. It was
Oh
like,
no, really?
yeah, another whale got beached, and everybody was like, "Are they gonna do it again? Are they gonna do it again?"
Not blow it up. That footage is still one of the most wild things I've ever seen.
Yeah, once certain things once seen cannot be unseen. That's all I'm
And
gonna say.
and also just going, there were that many people involved that thought that this was a good idea and this was how it was going to be handled.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because didn't they do something that facilitate, like it was already swelling with the air and the gases and stuff, and then they do something to facilitate it that is what caused it to actually then majorly explode?
I think so.
I can't quite remember. I'll have to go back and look at it all. But anyways, crazy splody whale.
Yeah, I think that Chad had the most fun with that when it came up the other day because Miss Z had no idea what they were talking about. She's like, what?
And you're like, oh no. Well, here's what you got to do.
Here's some more.
You've got some homework tonight.
So I just noticed something because I was goofing around on X for a second. Elon actually sort of took my advice on something. There's a much cheaper version of the gold check mark now. Instead of paying $1,000 a month, you can actually pay $200 a month or $2,000 a year. I wish I would have known that when I had money for my taxes, because KLR Radio would have a gold check mark right now. But anyway,
interesting.
Maybe next year. The only reason I started looking at it, I was like, dude, they're giving you, if you do like the yearly, they give you like $2,500 back in ad credits. So you're basically getting everything back plus more money. And like, we could have used that. I wish I would have seen that before.
Yeah, for sure.
Who knows?
Interesting.
Maybe
I
something.
don't know, things are changing so often. I'm like, I don't even know what's going on.
Maybe something I'm working on will blow up enough that I can do that in the next few months. Start taking advantage of the ad revenue.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, so I don't know.
I think I do find it. I do think though that it is interesting. All of the people that are like, yes, this is right and just and good and blah blah blah. They definitely want Trump to get what he deserves, and but think that Biden is so above board. And there he is out there on his little podium today and yesterday talking about how the Supreme Court tried to stop me and I wouldn't let them. I'm still doing student loans. Now, granted, the loans that he's still quote unquote forgiving is just such a small portion based on previous legislation that laws that has nothing to do with the one that he did propose and got knocked down. So he's not still implementing that one. But still, it's just the idea that you're up here saying, all of y'all are like, here's who the fascist is and who thinks he's above the law and can't let him anywhere near the Oval. And then here's the guy actually out there being like, I do what I want. Fuck the SCOTUS. And they're like, yay, democracy, freedom. Like, do y'all hear yourselves? It's insane.
I know, right? I mean, so, and this is the funny thing about that, right? So now the Democrats are trying to rebrand themselves as the Law and Order Party. I'm like, you're the guy at the top of your ticket keeps doing in run around SCOTUS. You can put that football down before you spike it, bitch.
Oh, by the way, have you heard they're trying to re-up these rumors about like there's video of Trump saying the N-word. So it's
Oh
like,
yeah. I was going to talk about that today, and then I realized that nobody could hear me. So
so there was someone that was, there's now been this, of all places, a slate.com article that now says, well, it's different now because there's a first person source who says that they personally heard it. A guy who's no longer under NDA, who had been under an NDA for a certain period of time, is no longer under NDA, having had worked for Trump, and said that he definitely said it or whatever. But for years, they've claimed there's a video. Do you think for 1 second, after all of this shit the last 8 years, that if there was truly, and actually more than 8 years, almost 10, if there was truly a video out there of Trump dropping an M-bomb, that we wouldn't have had it already? I find it very hard to believe.
I'm going to go one further. And this is just me being completely honest, having grown up in what eventually became gang territory. Who the fuck hasn't said the N-word?
Well, actually, that was another thing that I said to us. I said, it's not that I don't believe he probably said it, but everybody pretends like, I just feel like there's so many people that are like, oh no, never, not ever. And I'm like, not when you're a 15-year-old boy with your friends? Don't believe you. I'm sorry, I don't believe you.
And not only that, Trump's age. Everybody, I mean, dude, the person who taught me how to say that word when I was 4 years old and just about got my mom murdered in a mall was my grandfather, because he said it about every single one of them. Oh, look at that nigger. Oh, look at that coon. Oh, look at this. Look at that. So full disclosure, I'm a white guy saying this. So anybody that wants to cancel me, go ahead and say it. I don't care. But so we're walking through the mall, right? And I'm like, I think probably 4 or 5 years old. And I'm like, oh, look, mommy, a nigger. I didn't know any better. My dad said it. My grandpa said it. I just thought it was a word. And my mom is like turning purple and freaking out. And the dude looks like he wants to murder me and eat her soul. And I'm just like, I don't even know what I did.
Oh my gosh.
But I'm just saying, everybody at some point or another has said that word. And then the thing that irritates me about all of that is you've got the white people that aren't allowed to say the word. Then you've got the white people that are invited to the barbecue, and then they don't care if they say the word or not. I'm just like, pick a lane. We either all can't say the word or everybody can say the word, because it's just a word.
Well, and then there's also black people. There's also black people that say that certain other black people that are mixed, then they can't. Like they're not black enough to. So depending on their skin tone and their coloring, then maybe they can, maybe they can't. It's just it's a whole mess. But anyways, with him and in this situation, I'm like, first of all, do I believe that he has? Sure. Do I think I have a hard time believing that someone would be just sitting on this video for this long. Like, I just don't believe it. I think it would have come out already. And so I'm sure that there are first person accounts. There are people that heard him say it at some point or another. But I'm sorry, y'all, but those of you who want to be extremely high and mighty on that, on the left, there's someone compiled, and I'll have to find the link. It's like a 4-minute long video of all the times, whether quoting it or not, that Joe Biden has on public record dropped it. He's said it on the floor of Congress multiple times in quoting something, but why did it need to be said?
I mean, hell,
he didn't have to say it out loud. He could have said, everybody knew what it was meaning if he just said the N-word and didn't actually say the word. Like, there's like a 4-minute, and not only that, there's like a 10-minute long compiled history of Democrats in all phases of public life using the word. So what kind of gotcha is this here?
Well, and here's the thing, right? And this is
if he said it last week, I'd go, yeah, okay, that's fucked up. But we're talking about the 70s.
Well, I mean, and the other thing is, let's just be completely honest. In 2006, when Bill Clinton introduced Barack Obama to the DNC, he's like, a few short years ago, this boy would have been fetching my coffee.
Ugh, I know.
And nobody said a word.
Well, he said things of that nature even during this presidency that have been just like, oh gosh, no, you can't do that. He just said the other day, and I sat next to a black man or something. He was like, yeah, and there I was sitting with a black man, and I'm like, oh Lord, honey, you still think that you're like stumping in 1968? Like, it is 2024.
Yeah, my favorite thing is when he's lying about how when I've been helping with the civil rights movement since I was a kid. Dude, you are quoted as saying you didn't want your children attending school in an interracial jungle. You didn't help with nothing.
Yeah. Okay, Rooster just had a good point. So he's like, quoted Biden, I don't want my kids going to a racial jungle. Biden said that. And he says, it seems like that phrase in context is worse than the N word out of context. And he's absolutely right.
Yeah, exactly.
It is worse. The
And
implications of I don't want my kids going to a racial jungle, the implications of that and the meaning behind it and the intentions is far worse than a random dropping of an N word. Far worse.
Yeah. And Rooster, I actually didn't even see that you said that, so I wouldn't try to steal your thunder. It was just a thought that I had.
Yeah, no, that's what I had just read him say, and then you said it, and I was like, yeah, this is that, but it's his next phrase of saying like that phrase in context is worse, and he's right, that absolutely is. But because I do like though that like they were trying to be like Trump is going to be convicted and he said the N-word. I'm like, okay.
Well, so the weirdest thing about that, right, is because it seemed like it kind of came out of left field. So it's almost like somebody got some talking points that they were afraid there was going to be a hung jury, and then at some point that changed. That changed today too. But again, just the whole thing of this just seems so weird because it's like you said, the judge's tone was completely different depending on who was talking and which side they were on. The prosecution was given a whole lot of latitude, and the defense wasn't.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, it's usually the other way around. The defense usually gets a little bit more latitude than the prosecution, but
right,
I mean,
because the prosecution has to prove the case.
Yeah. And it's just all of it just seems so weird to me. And again, it's like I've been telling everybody, if they didn't want everybody as pissed off as they are right now, because I mean, right now everybody's mad. Now, granted, November's a long ways away. A lot of people are going to be back to sleep by then. It's just the truth of it. But everybody's mad now. If everybody could go vote today, Donald Trump would win in a landslide. By November,
well, you're right.
By November, who the hell knows? Because everything changes on a dime, especially lately. But they could have made this a lot more believable because it just literally seems like at some point somebody went and talked to the jury and said, y'all don't get to go home unless he's guilty.
Well, and I think if they were even kind of just like down to the last little bit and it's like one more day of this, or should we just call it now? Okay, fine. I'm ready to be done. Can't you just see a juror being like, I'm fed up. Like, I'm fed up and I want to go home and I'm not going to get my way. And they're going to make us sit here for weeks before we can say we're hung. And fine. You know, I think he did enough shady shit to say fine. He's not going to get prison time.
And I honestly think that's probably where a lot of them were. It's like, look, do I think he did all of this? No, but everybody at this table knows right now that if we don't come back with something, that judge ain't letting us leave. He's going to keep.
Well, and I just want to end all of this on, sham trial or not, the what has come from this whole Stormy Daniels situation that has affected his life for the better part of 2 decades. And is now actually legally affecting it in a negative way. It's politically affected it. It's personally affected it. I sure as shit hope she was a good fuck.
I mean,
what else was it all for? She better have been the absolute fucking best lay that could ever be on this planet for the shit he's had to go through for screwing her.
Well, and the other thing is, I mean, you've got Bill Maher.
And I'll say nobody's worth that. I'll promise you.
Yeah,
Nobody's
trust
that good away. Nobody's that good away.
nobody's that good. I don't care if they are a porn star. But I think the weirdest thing for me was watching Bill Maher roll the footage from like 2018 when she's like, "Oh no, it wasn't me too, and it wasn't this, and it wasn't that." And she's like, "I wanted it." And he's like, "Why?" And she's like, "I don't know." She's like, "This sounds a lot different than what she was saying in the courtroom the other day."
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
Yep. Yeah, I just go, what, was she worth it? Sure hope so, buddy, because I don't know what could ever be worth what it has cost you, and it's costing all of us, really. It's costing the party, it's costing everybody. It's costing America. Because you know what? It's costing America, even if just for the reason that we have to sit through the bullshit every day of that being the wall-to-wall coverage of everything on every network and in every publication. Just for that.
The irony of this, though, as we get ready to close, is he was just convicted for hiding a payment from the public regarding trying to keep her quiet, and she has already lost a case and owes him money.
Yeah, there's gonna be this is just such a shit show. It just is. It's so dumb.
And per Rex from the KLRN radio chat room, I've seen her fuck Jen. I'd charge her.
Wow, I love it.
Oh, all right. So since we are coming up to the end, where can folks find you, ma'am?
I was gonna say we got to end it there. That's about it. We can't get better than that tonight. Oh man. Well, obviously on Twitter at J Homestead and elsewhere, but mostly on Twitter, and over at Misfits Politics. And of course, tomorrow night is the night you need to be here and there playing Misfit Mischief at over on at Misfits Politics tomorrow evening.
Woohoo! All right. Well, as for me, I'll be back tomorrow afternoon finishing off the week doing the Rick Robinson show. Now that I have at least the bare bones working again, I'm not really trying to mess with integrating that other piece of equipment until probably Saturday or Sunday because it screwed everything up earlier and it took me forever to undo it. And I'll be helping out with Aggie Reekin doing He Said, She Said tomorrow night, Aggie time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, right here live on KLRN Radio. This is not a juxtaposition week. It is our off week. I think because we keep screwing things up, we're just going to reset and come back, do things right a week from Saturday. Sunday night, I'll be back doing the America Off the Rails show, 10 p.m. Eastern. Monday afternoon, back doing the Rick Robinson show right here live, 3 p.m., 5 p.m. Eastern. Now, every Monday through Friday, except for what will become the first Monday of the month. That's going to be the day off I take to do kids' appointments, things like that. Other than that, you can find me at RadioX73. You can find me as the executive producer of the Loftus Party podcast, which drops on his website every Tuesday and as a contributor to misfitspolitics.com, twitchy.com, and the loftusparty.com. And I had a Rick's rant that was about to go, but I think I'm going to drop that tomorrow because it was almost done and then I lost part of it. I'm sad now, so I'm going to wait and do it tomorrow. And we may or may not have some verdict related stuff dropping on the digital beacon in the next day or so because a couple people were like, can we go ahead and start right now? I know we weren't supposed to start till Monday. I'm like, sure, I don't care. Here's the password. So we'll see. All right. So on that note, we're getting out of here because it's been a long day for me again.
Yeah.
Start doing a bunch of news work. It'll be fun, they said.
And then news days are busy.
All right, folks. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday night. I'll be back with you tomorrow afternoon. And like Jen said, don't freak out too much. There's a lot of real estate between. That's not the right one. Anyway. I accidentally loaded the same one twice. See, I'm discombobulated and stuff. All right, we're leaving.
Bye.
Just stay sane. There's a lot of real estate between now and November. Bye, everybody.
Of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
All right. We are